Hey friend, welcome back to Bible Tract Echoes. I'm Micah McCurry, your host. Thank you so very much for listening today. The message that you will hear a portion of in just a moment was preached by a dear friend and co-laborer of mine, a young man named Cameron Wedge. He came on staff at Bible Tracts Incorporated not that long ago. He's been such a partner with us for these last year plus that he's been on board, and I believe what you hear today, it will be heavy, but it will be helpful. He's going to speak on a topic that is very rarely preached about. The setting for this message, as it was preached in its entirety, was at a teen camp in Australia. And realize that he's going to give an illustration. He's going to use some Celsius temperatures because he's speaking to Aussie teens. And so don't get too wrapped up in trying to do the math. Remember, 100 Celsius is the boiling point of water. So that'll give you a reference point here in just a moment. But I'm going to ask you to listen. God moved when this message was preached. I'm so thankful for the new life in Christ, that a young man who came and accepted Christ as a result of this very message. I'm thankful for that, but I believe what was spoken about could very well be a help to our audience today. I don't have guests on the radio program all the time, but I believe this week it's appropriate. I believe this message will make an impact on the audience today. I'm going to ask you to listen to Cameron Wedge, staff member here at Bible Tracts Incorporated, as he preaches this message with this title: What Kind of a Place is Hell? Listen now.
I want to ask this question this morning. Have you ever wondered what kind of a place is hell? I'm talking about, what does it smell like? What does it sound like? What does it look like? What kind of a place is hell? And I can tell you the Bible shows us a glimpse, and it's a terrible place. We have read just a small portion of Luke 16, but I want to show you some more verses and show you a glimpse into what kind of place hell is. I want you to notice in looking at verse 23 that hell is a place of torment. It is a place of torment. It said, "And in hell he lift up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom." The Webster's 1828 dictionary, it defines that word torment as the uttermost degree of misery, either of body or mind. And this rich man who had all the money in the world, he had all the luxuries that money could buy, every desire that he could possibly have was met, but now he finds himself in a place called hell in the midst of torment, the utmost misery that's possible. In his life on earth, there was absolutely nothing that he could not have. And now he's in torment. This man's money could not do anything for him now. He couldn't buy his way out of hell. He couldn't buy a drink of water. He couldn't buy just a moment's relief from the torment that he was in. He was absolutely without hope. And I want you to think of the mental agony that you would have if you knew that you had lived a life of absolute luxury and absolute pleasure, had everything that you ever wanted, and now you can't have anything that you want. You can't even have a moment of relief from the torment that you're in. Yet Lazarus, the poor man, the beggar, who once suffered physical misery at your gate, and he waited just hoping that you would give him some crumbs off your table. And I mean, this man was so low down that the dogs would lick his open sores on his body. You look across the gulf and you see him in absolute comfort, absolute security. And what you used to have and he desired to have, now he has and you desire to have. The agony that must be going on in his mind. He was in torment. And hell is a place of torment. But also we see, if you look at verse 24, that hell is a place of fire. Hell is a place of fire. It says, "And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame." You know, when I worked at Angola prison, we haven't had too bad of weather this week. I've been very appreciative of that. It got a little bit hot yesterday, but in Louisiana, the summers could only be described as miserable. Very regularly, it will get to over 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And many times, we would end up having to walk great distances, over a mile. And I remember one particular day, I had gone home for lunch. What I would normally do in the summertime is in the morning I would drink a sports drink, a small bottle of a sports drink, and then I would drink about, I can't remember how much it was, but I would drink a whole lot of water, about a half a gallon of water. And as the day go on, we would have lunch, I'd go home and I would refill my water, and I would get a large sports drink that I had placed in the freezer that morning so that I could have some, maybe a head start on the really bad heat of the day. So I'd drink a large frozen sports drink, and then I would drink over a gallon of water from about 12 to 4 p.m. And one day, when I went home for lunch, I don't know what was on my mind, but I forgot to refill my water. And I didn't even grab my sports drink. I just went back out to work for the second half of the day. And wouldn't you know it, that we had to walk over 1.5 miles that day to our work location, and probably 115 degrees Fahrenheit. And I remember, young people, that as we got to the work location, after I just walked all that way in 115 degrees with about 90% humidity, wearing a very dark blue polyester uniform, I believed if I could just have a small cup of water, Brother Ramos, about that big, that I would feel so much better. But young people, we see that the rich man didn't ask for a little cup of water. He was in so much agony, so much pain in the flames of hell, that he asked for Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and touch his tongue. Do y'all see how much water that is? Look at that. Now, hell is a place of fire. How long do you think that would take to disappear from my finger in the heat of hell? Yet, the rich man asked Abraham, please just send Lazarus that he could touch my tongue with a little bit of moisture, because I'd feel so much better in this place of fire if I could just have that relief. How much misery must there have been if that was what it would take to give him some relief? It's a place of fire. And young people, as we read through Scripture, we read about that ultimate destination, the lake of fire. And when I read those words, I try to imagine what that would be. And when I read that word lake, I think of liquid. And if I am to try to imagine what liquid fire is, my mind immediately goes to lava. And I don't know, perhaps God has prepared something special that we do not even know about for the lake of fire. But that's something that we can grasp, our minds can grasp and we can picture. So I started to wonder, how hot can lava get on planet Earth? And I found that a lot of average volcanoes will have lava that measures about 760 degrees Celsius. Some volcanoes in Hawaii have lava that's been measured as high as 1,260 degrees Celsius. What would happen to your body in temperatures like that? I began to try to study this out. And I found that at only 39 degrees, the enzymes in your body's cells begin to break down. Fat and connective tissues, they start to melt at 41 degrees. After that, skin becomes destroyed at about 72 degrees. And then after that, blood and bodily fluids begin to boil at 100 degrees. At 982 degrees, your bones will turn to ash. You might think, well, Brother Cameron, that sounds absolutely terrible. But somebody could only take that for a few seconds before they died. Young people, if you go to hell, you'll never experience something as sweet as death. You will never experience death. Mark 9:43 and 44 says, if thy hand offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter into life maimed than having 2 hands to go into hell, into the fire that shall never be quenched, where the worm dieth not and the fire is not quenched. I want you to imagine in your mind's eye this morning that you're in the middle of hell. You're in the middle of this lake of fire, and you're just trying with all of your might to keep as much of your body outside of the liquid fire as you can. But you're so focused on that, you didn't realize the person behind you that jumps onto your back to try to get some relief. And as they push you down, right before your head goes under the surface of the liquid fire, you scream out in pain and your lungs fill up with 1,264-degree liquid fire. How many of you have ever breathed in water before while you're swimming? I have. It's incredibly painful, is it not? I bet it doesn't hold a candle to 1,264-degree lava. Imagine in your mind's eye that this happens to you and you never lose consciousness. You're in a never-ending process of death as your skin, it just hangs off of your muscles as this destroyed mass of flesh, and the enzymes and the fats and the connective tissue in your body, it runs out of your pores like liquid as they boil, and your blood is boiling, and your hair is a matted, just melted mass of rotten flesh on your head, and you cry out and you wish that you could die, but you never can. You can never know the relief of death. My friends, that is what the rich man is experiencing right now. As I'm preaching to you this morning, as we're in this very comfortable room, that's what the rich man is experiencing right this second. And he has been for thousands of years. For thousands of years.
Friend, you may say that is gruesome. As much detail, though, as Cameron gave, he still wasn't able to completely or even get close to describing the actual, real torment of hell. You may be bothered even by what you are hearing, but hell is a biblical place, and I believe firmly that Cameron is not out of bounds in what he is preaching in this message. But the question becomes, what will you do with this information? Maybe this talk of hell is bothering you. Maybe you know you're unsaved. Maybe you need to tell someone about salvation. If you know you're unsaved, though, I would love to hear from you. Maybe you'd like to be guided through how to accept Christ. Later this week, Cameron will do just that, but just in case you don't want to wait that long, would you text me at 309-316-7240. The announcer will be on with more ways to contact us in just a moment, but text me at 309-316-7240. We'll continue this message on what kind of a place is hell tomorrow. Have a great day for His glory. God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to Bible Tract Echoes, the radio ministry of Bible Tracts Incorporated. Want to see our gospel tracts and other resources? Visit us online at BibleTractsInc.org. That's BibleTractsInc.org. Or follow us on social media to learn how you can partner with this ministry. Thanks again for listening. May the Lord richly bless you as you live for Him.